Hi, everybody. This is Mary Hollywood at the Crossroads, and today we have a very special guest with us, Jestina Weems. And I want to talk about, with all of these killings that just doesn't seem to ever end. And being a mother, I am particularly touched when I see this happen. So I want to hear from Jestina. She was a very active Marianne Williamson volunteer and supporter. So we're in the same level of wanting a peaceful revolution to occur in this country, which seems harder and harder as the day passes. So Jestina, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Hello, thanks for having me, Mary. Honored to be on the show today. The topic in itself is very hard as a Black mother living in America, raising a son. I have two sons, but one is definitely of color, and I feel like just that alone is raising two different men. As I say, I'm not raising children, I'm raising men. But the fear of what I know my oldest son will face compared to the challenges that, everyday challenges that people have that I know my younger son will face are on two different levels. Even though I feel like my younger son will probably be just as persecuted because he'll be like, I'm Black and won't look Black. And I feel like that is a challenge in itself and an identity crisis almost that they struggle, an inner struggle. But the fear is not the same as knowing that because my son is Black, that his life is in jeopardy every time he steps outside of our house. And in some cases, even inside your home is not a safe place if the authorities feel that they have the right to come in and invade your home. And that becomes an unsafe place when there's guns drawn, and then they just have the right to say they felt threatened because they couldn't see what was in your hands.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to think, how can any mother, stand to watch this and not put themselves in your shoes? You know what I mean? Like it's not even just outside, just like you said, it's anywhere now. It seems like there's no safe place anymore.
Yeah, and before it was like the police, but then the more you find out about even just what happened with the two men, it's just like nothing. It took 75 days, a whole uproar before any type of justice or action was going to be taken. So I think that is scary in itself, because now it's not just, okay, I think we almost got used to, okay, they're getting killed by police, they're getting killed by police. But now when it's just like anybody can pull a gun out on us and kill us. And like, that's scary. And my father was killed by police in 93. So for me, to keep watching this, it's like another a flashback, a feeling, and a fear that's even more real, because in 93, before camera phones, people didn't believe you. It was, cops don't do that, that would never happen, And then I think the biggest issue that I see is on the other side, when you try to explain to people who aren't of color, the biggest issue I see is they're always trying to play devil's advocate. Like, well, what did they do wrong to make them really though? Like, was the gun really necessary? Was pulling out a gun really necessary when you can see school shooters and, other bombers and terrorists and other threats, and authority handles those threats in a different way than of a person of color who might be selling cigarettes or CDs or just getting pulled over for a violation that might not even be a violation. So I think it's going to be real scary, like the next 10 years, when you have more children like myself who, it was my father, you know what I'm saying? And they're not babies anymore. And they look at like my generation and like, oh, they don't have no respect for authority. But it's like, well, how much respect do you want us to have when you don't treat us with no respect? When I am a victim of a father who lost his life to police brutality. Now, am I naive to think like, oh, my father was all in the right or whatever? No, my father was addicted to drugs. He was homeless. But at the same time, you not only killed my father, you then buried him as a John Doe, even though you knew he had a family and everything. So it's not only what they do to the victim themselves as far as killing them, it's how they treat the whole entire family. So it goes beyond just like the person who's getting killed. It goes to like how my mother was treated, how I was treated up until the point of now, 20 years later, of trying to find out the truth. Like, we have a place for my father to go. I don't want to pay 30 grand to unbury a man that you put in there as a John Doe, when in your witness statements when he was killed, it says he has a wife and kids, and here's his address. Y'all sent the bill. So if we have a place for him to be buried, so it's just the injustice and just the way that they treat you, like the government and the system treats the family, the grieving family, like, you need to get over it, like blah blah blah. It's like, no, this was still somebody. So I feel like you keep seeing it, and we're desensitized to it so much, but it's going to come a point where there's going to be more of us that have been traumatized from it, that even though we pray for this peaceful type of revolution, that people are going to get tired. And because I feel like we've been peaceful for like a long time. Like, that's what the marches were for. That's what, we have Martin Luther King, who was like, how peaceful can you get? And I feel like even those leaders for us, we don't stand up like they did, because we have been shown the fear of, if we do stand up, if we do speak up to a certain point, like, we are pushed down, we are assassinated, we are discredited, because we want to stand up against what's wrong, clearly just what's wrong in our society as of right now, and dealing with race. And the sad part is I don't think like a large majority or this huge majority of people are like racist. I just feel like we've been brainwashed even among our own races to believe some of the history that's not true among our own, to even think that all white people think this way about Black people. You know what I'm saying? Which creates us internally to almost treat all white people or race one way. Like, even right now, like coronavirus, we heard China, and now like everyone's like this kind of racist towards China, Asian people. And they fall in all types of race. You don't know if they're Chinese, Filipino, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like, we hear something and symbolically we just automatically act that way. So it's like, I even hear like certain white people or other races kind of look down upon Black people, but it doesn't make me love them less, or I just feel like they've been taught wrong. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, either I can educate them or give them a different perspective. But I feel like sometimes, even as an African American, you kind of get tired of doing that too. Like, always trying to justify, like, it's just wrong that they did that. They didn't have to use such aggressive force, because they've been raised to think that because of the color of your skin, it's a threat. Because your skin color is a threat. And that's really what it is. And as a mother, a Black mother, raising even a child, you see young Black boys getting killed so young. You know what I'm saying? My son in first grade, just the racism that he had to deal with in school, which is why I homeschool now, and the stigmas and the labels that they put on majority of people of color, not just Black people, but people of color in the system, I think just feeds into the
narrative.
Yeah, the narrative, and for all of us, we all do it. You have upper class Black people that look down on lower class Black people, and it has nothing to do with my income is less than yours. Not that I'm less smart or any smarter, just like my income is less than yours. But society wants us all to put each other on this level, and we see that right now, and we're just so brainwashed, and it breaks my heart, because I'm just like, I don't know what my son's future is, because I have to still deal with the trauma of my father, knowing that I still see this every day, 20, 25 years later, knowing that it could still be the fate for either one of my sons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it goes like everything that you're saying just makes it so clear how the problem is so systemic. It's embedded in the system, ever since slavery. Like it's never ended. And what you're saying, we have been completely uneducated uh, about it. Like we thought, okay, no, we fought the Civil War, the slaves were freed, and
We're so
everything
good.
is
We had
okay.
Obama for president. Like we thought
Exactly.
we dismantled all this hate and racism, and it's like it never went anywhere. It might have wore a different face, or like, oh, right now I can't say anything, or was in the closet for a little bit, but it never went anywhere. Like for people of color, like now saying, oh, Trump's in office, this racism is ridiculous. Like for Black people like myself, like living in that fear, like, but y'all just bold enough to say what y'all been thinking, or just like
Yeah,
your body language says it all. So even though people aren't as bold to say like nigga this or the N-word this, you know what I'm saying? Like the body language, when you taking your kid out of the park because my kid's in the park or we come to the park, you might as well have said the N-word to me.
absolutely.
Because I can't explain to my son why he can't play with the same kids he's in school with because now their parents are there. And I've been in those situations thinking that I grew up in New Hampshire. So I'm thinking now in New York, you know, I'm in New York now. Like I got tears in my eyes. But I'm in New York now thinking that I'm not gonna raise my son the same way I had to go through, but where he had to have to like fear other people or just think that other people didn't like him because of the color of his skin. But I can't escape it no matter where I go. I'm Brooklyn, New
Yeah,
York. You know what I'm saying? You don't think that you're gonna have to put your kid and you try to save them from those things, but it's like you can't escape racism, especially right now.
yeah.
Especially right now.
And
But when the racism is really a threat to your life, like even right now, standing up and saying anything, you don't know who's gonna take it the wrong way.
absolutely. And that's the thing that you said. It doesn't, racism is a disease that knows no bounds. Like anyone can be racist, it's a feeling. And I feel like when I wanted, when all this is happening, it's like, I can't take this anymore. It's getting to a point that, you know, this volcano is going to burst and it's piling up inside. And unless we do something that's truly meaningful, like I don't want to see another hashtag. I don't want to see another celebrity going on a rant. Like I want legislation that's
Yeah.
gonna stop this. You know what I mean? Like, and it has to be all good people of this country to stand up. I don't care what color you are, because then you think like we have the white savior syndrome. You know, being on the Marianne campaign really helped me because you know we were all for reparations. We are for reparations, and being somebody, I'm Brazilian, but you know I'm white basically, you know what I mean? Like
That's what they see.
so so how can I, and I was always like, you know, I want to support this, but how can I support this in a way that it's not like, oh, I'm helping you, you know what I mean? Like it's so pathetic, this idea that I just want us all to
I think it's the idea that we think like all these Black people need help. Like even the reparation thing, it's like, well, why do you think I need reparation? Do you see me as a poor person? And I think a large percentage of Blacks who hear that is like, well, I know I'm richer than some of these white people that I know. So like, why you know what I'm saying? Like we get where reparations is coming from, but how are you looking at, is it just another free handout? Like we don't need another free handout. That's not what we're looking for. And it doesn't come down to even money. It comes down to respect.
yeah, and to me that's it. It's saying, you know what, like you were so wronged that we just have to make this right.
Yeah.
It's not, you
So
know,
you know but it's right for everybody because you don't know who's mixed with who. You don't know what's mixed with what, and the society would like to use race as a way to keep us divided. But at the end of the
absolutely.
day, if the majority of us can't afford college, and even though it's affecting Blacks or whatever, like college should be free for everybody. And guess what? Then we could all kind of come up together. It's just making those initiatives where it's just fair.
Yeah,
So it's that we're not always behind, always trying to catch up. Like we can't catch up if we're stuck in a student loan or stuck in this type of debt, or we can't even get any type of credit because this, and that. Like banks don't even give us the right opportunities. And then you got landlords and other people, or just job opportunities, just simply because of the color of your skin or how they, well, I know the majority of Black people act like gangsters. Like what? If you talk to me on the phone, you don't even know what color I am until you see me in person. Because I grew up in New Hampshire. I know black people, they don't like me because I don't act black enough. And that's just like the where you fall in line. Like, you don't act black enough over here, or you don't act white enough over here. Like, what the hell? Why do I have to act any type of color? I don't even know when color started acting. Are you the truth? I didn't know that was a real thing besides to act like yourself. But unfortunately, society makes you pick a side, pick a race, pick a religion, pick a
political party. Yeah. It's so stupid.
All things that divide us, and for what?
It keeps them richer, in power and control, and us here
fighting with each other. For what?
Yeah.
Because we're two different colors, but we bleed the same. We need the same things to survive. Most of what is love to survive, and then food and everything else.
Absolutely. So now, honestly, and I feel like my husband and I talk about this, and people say it's like a conspiracy, but I feel like sometimes, ever since 2016 and the whole Cambridge Analytica and how that online they used racism, you know what I mean, like to rile up this base and incite this base, and I feel like they want like Black people to just lose it. You know what I mean? I feel like they want to have this response, this violent response.
Yeah, because that still brings money. That's still, every time we protest, we buy a ticket, we go to a march, we buy a t-shirt, like all that still generates some type of taxpayers' dollars, which is why I don't do it. I can't go to a march if that means I have to pay for gas, if I know I'm going to get hungry, if I know I'm going to go stay at a hotel, because you know what? The same thing I'm marching against is now putting money into a bill that I don't stand for.
Yeah. So how can we not play their game? How do you feel we can move on and enact change, but not?
It's what they've been saying. It's what Malcolm X and everyone been saying. We are not organized. They rather us have Black Lives Matter, this group over here, that group over here, this group over here. I'm going to fight for gay rights. I'm going to fight for women's rights. I'm going to fight for these people's rights, instead of everyone saying, guess what, I'm going to fight for the human rights, because that's all the rights together.
Yeah.
And then you got the Black organizations who say, we got to stay down here, at least out of the government's radar, where that's where the government wants us to be. Like, all right, we'll come out and march every once in a while, but hey, we're not going to say nothing else, do nothing else. We ain't coming up like the Black Panthers up on your government property because like demanding bills to be passed. You scared us too much for that type of movement. But unfortunately, if people really understand the Black Panthers, they were the most educated group of organized individuals that formed a movement that fed the homeless people, that created jobs. It wasn't about this aggression of let's have guns and the right to bear arms. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with, you will not kill us because we're there to patrol our own streets and to patrol the police that we feel the injustice is coming from.
Absolutely.
So there's that other misconception in history. Like, we need to be organized. And I think that comes together with, let's stop saying I'm part of this group, that group, this party, I'm Black, I'm white. I see you as my sister and brother, and somebody that believes in the right to self-education, freedom, and happiness.
Absolutely.
And seeing everyone's perspective, like you don't have to have the same perspective as me, but we can have the same mission for rights. Like, I don't want you to even have the same perspective, because your different perspective is just going to enlighten me and open me up more.
This is what I say all the time.
Online, like, oh, this is propaganda, this and that. I don't care if it is. Go do your research. Let's at least self-educate, because everybody has a theory and everything is a conspiracy, because as soon as 2 or 3 people come together and say, this is what I want to do, there's your conspiracy. It's our job to come up with the theories, and we're not doing that as an American people. We're too determined. The government's going to handle it. Oh, they're going to get us together. They're going to let us out. They're going to fix the problem. No, that's not a bad thing.
Absolutely. We can come together under this one big tent and do this. Like, forget this little petty little things that, divide us. And man, say enough is enough for real this time.
Yeah, because it's only going to benefit everybody. It's not going to just, oh, well, they're going to come up and, they're going to take revenge. Like, it's not even about that. It's just about coming together and living in a world where none of us have to worry.
No,
I don't have to worry about if my kid goes to school, he's going to be labeled with an IEP. He's going to be pushed into this program. The school to prison pipeline. Like, these are all things we got to worry about. Like, our kids can't even afford to be labeled with anything.
Yeah, Yes.
Nothing. You can't afford to get a charge. That's gonna ruin your whole life. Don't even jaywalk, okay? You know?
Absolutely.
So it's just like everything you have to be so picky about, and like it's extra stress. It's just like a stress.
So
Unnecessary.
let's organize. Let's do this. Let's all come together. Where tell everyone where they can find you.
Jestina Weems on Facebook. Victims to Victory is my nonprofit organization. So I talk a lot about just healing and how we can get the country to come together and try to end some of this racism and capitalism and homelessness, like how we could actually organize. So I think that's probably a platform that people should like visit, victimstovictory.com or freeyourmindasp.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Destine. I'm going to have you back so we can talk just about that. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your voice. We love you. God bless you. And we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Today is Saturday, May 9th. Tomorrow is Mother's Day. I want to take this opportunity to call on all mothers to stand in solidarity to fight against this pandemic that's been plaguing us for centuries, that lives inside of us, this virus called racism. We need to go from the mindset of being anti-slavery to being an abolitionist, to being someone that not only believes that this is wrong and disgusting and unconscionable, but standing on the ground saying, not on my watch. I am going to do everything that I can in my power to make sure that this ends once and for all. While most people will argue that it's impossible to make somebody stop being a racist, okay, it's probably true. However, when you enact laws and you enact rights that protect people who are under attack, when you create opportunities for healthcare and education, regardless of zip code or material condition, you start paving the way for a more egalitarian society. So we need to pay attention to who we are supporting, what we are funding, where the government is using our tax-paying dollars, where we are investing our resources, because something is very wrong with the picture in our country today. And it's time we see it, and it's time we address it. So I hope that, especially mothers, I think that we can feel that we would never want something like this to happen to one of ours. So if we don't want this to happen to one of ours, we cannot ever allow this to happen to somebody else's kids. I hope that you will stand with me at this crossroads and choose a new direction. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next time.